What do you think is the best superhero movie, and
Um,
why?
damn, best superhero movie would be
I'll give you a couple seconds to think
Black
about it.
Panther. No, I'm joking.
Really?
Nah. I think it's hard, but I want to say
Wakanda forever.
Yeah, come on,
you got it back to Africa.
fresh out of Wakanda.
Fresh out Wakanda.
No, I'll probably say like,
It's hard, isn't it?
yeah.
Okay, let's break it down. Okay, we're talking about just Marvel, right? Because I don't think there's any DC movie that was even be up there.
I mean the Batman, the
Wait,
Arkham,
yeah, true.
Yeah.
Batman trilogy, Dark Knight.
Dark Knight, that's what it was called. Yeah, I was thinking of the games, but Dark Knight, that one was called. No, I'll definitely say
But is that a superhero movie or is that a good movie about superheroes?
no, but that's a superhero movie. That's my point, because it's like that's what makes a good superhero movie. It's the fact that it actually seems different. And I feel like a lot of people feel like superhero movies it has to follow a formula, but if you incorporate that superhero idea into a story, and then it can be something else. It can be both a thriller and a superhero movie.
So say we compare what we have in Avengers Infinity War, the both obviously Infinity War and Endgame, and what we have in Dark Knight. Those two are such different movies. Like I feel like Infinity War is a great superhero experience, a great movie experience, and maybe it's a good movie, maybe it's like a above average movie. You know, I thought it was a really good movie, but I thought it was a good movie, but I didn't think it was a good film. If you know what I mean.
I agree with you. I don't even think it was a good superhero film. I don't think it was bad. It was definitely very. Let's see it like this: the budget was well spent. I just think like the concept, like you said, was just very.
Yeah, it was very superhero. It was very like theater, and that's kind of the point. You know, you have that crazy ending, you have that engaging villain, you have all these crazy characters, so many characters, all of them coming in, and they did well to like cater to all of them, but it didn't feel like a personal movie about superheroes. It didn't feel like, obviously the Batman, compared to the Batman, was like, you have him being chucked on a thing in the right at the beginning of the, you know what I mean? And he has to kind of build himself back up. It's like a character study movie. You know, I think that you mentioned before, I think that's how superhero movies really shine. Because I think the element of, let's define that then. What would you say, if you were to make a superhero movie, what would you say would be the most important thing you'd focus on? What makes a good superhero movie for you?
I feel like it's the development of the character, and like I just wanted to add to your point. You know how you said that like Logan's your favorite movie. That's part of the reason why it's like I feel like that's what makes a good story. When you see the development of a character and you kind of take away, you see it like this: it's a hero movie, but it's not cliched. It's basically following the literature format of writing a story. So it may have development, it may have thriller, have romance, all of these different types of like themes are incorporated to write its own story. And so your question was what makes a good superhero movie is having the origin story, but also the development blossoming into one of the themes. Maybe it be romance, and then seeing how the romance has an effect of him being a hero, or maybe the I don't know, let's make it a thriller. He has some sort of PTSD cause that makes him a hero. Or maybe the development, maybe he's learning to become stronger, or something like Invincible. All of these different themes kind of make something stand out rather than making them a cliche. And yeah.
Then do you think then we've reached a stage where, for example, with Marvel, because it feels like now they're on the downward spiral. Do you think that's because they've neglected that aspect of superhero movies where they started off with that in individual movies? For example, Iron Man, the first couple Iron Man movies, it was that exactly what you just described. But now it become a thing where it's become such a big movie experience in the cinematic universe that they've lost touch of that. Do you think that's why they're on the down, or do you even think they're on the downward slope?
I feel you're right about Marvel's point. It's not because they got a big universe, it's because of the way that they're kind of like displaying the characters in the universe. Rather than kind of giving them actual individual kind of themes or just developments, they're focusing on waving the character in the air and saying that this character is part of it, but they don't really have anything that makes them grow. And to be fair, I haven't watched enough of the new Marvel movies to make a fair opinion, but I did watch Shang-Chi, and like Shang-Chi was a good example. I feel like the concept of Shang-Chi was very, very interesting. It had really good visuals, but the only issue it lacked was it was too fast-paced for it to kind of delve into the sincerity of like certain character motives. Like obviously I'll spoil it, but there was this one scene where it's like he basically just like leaves and chooses not to come back to like his original clan. And it's like instead of him kind of just being like, oh yeah, like there was some sort, he instead of him kind of like expanding on the fact that he's kind of gone on that he's kind of left his clan. He's kind of just been like, he hasn't really explained it as much. That's all I'm really
exactly. It's kind of like they did it for there's a plot point, like they're touching plot points, like boom, boom, boom. They can move on to the next thing. But in superhero movies, you're supposed to spend time developing these because you have to pay it off.
Yeah,
I think that's what makes it so interesting too. Because for example, if we take it to like TV shows. Like, I think nowadays there's better TV shows, superhero TV shows, than there is better movies because TV shows, they're allowed to spend time with them. Like you mentioned, The Boy. Like, The Boys, they can spend time with these characters and just really delve in over and over and over again. You know, sometimes the character will do it good and then the next episode will do it bad. And again, like, that's actually creating that relationship with them. Like, you know what I mean? Like, here's a question I had then. What do you think... What do you think superhero movies are going to end up? Like, what do you think is the future of superhero movies? You mentioned about how, like, they kind of lose in touch with the original idea of what made a really good superhero movie. I believe anyway. Do you think they can bring it back up? How do you think it's gonna end up?
I feel like it has a few kind of possible futures. One of my ideas is like, I feel like what's gonna happen is like maybe Marvel might just stop doing the whole movie thing and then just see what other. They might end up just picking up on what other independent kind of like superhero movies are doing. So, for example, it's like, look at something like The Boys. The Boys was like an independent comic. Well, actually, you know, I'm not going to say too much because I don't want to get the information wrong. But long story short...
Bro, you can check whatever. It's Waffle House over here.
No, it's not even Waffle House. It's just I'm trying to remember what I'm trying to say, but I'm trying to think of the right way. But all I'm trying to say is just that The Boys isn't part of DC or Marvel, and it's got its own kind of theme that kind of makes it work.
Yes.
Or like even...
I know what you mean now, yeah.
Yeah, and it's like, I feel like they can also just kind of just pick up on like just other kind of series as well. So, for example, you look at something like, I don't know, like Breaking Bad. I'm not saying that, oh yeah, that could be its own superhero movie, but what if there was like a hero that ended up, or like some sort of character that went down a similar path as Walter, where it's like he ended up getting so much power, but then it goes to a downfall. And this is seen in a lot of like, especially like gangster movies you're seeing, like Snowfall, the character rises then falls, Power.
Snowfall's a banger, by the way. I don't want to interrupt you, but Snowfall's an absolute banger.
Exactly, bro.
Of a TV show. Yeah, sorry. Go ahead. So
no. That was it.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, I completely agree with you. I think like it's. I think the turn of it probably will be to try and mimic these indie studios who take more niche ideas and try to build on it.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I feel like there's so many different types of shows that could also have like superhero elements. Like, this might sound very, very bizarre, but like I recently watched like the original, like not the original, but you know, there's Planet of the Apes.
Mm-hmm.
No,
it's a wonderful day. I'm sorry.
No, that shit was so funny.
What a wonderful day.
He was going crazy with that shit, but nah, man, like, but I think it's just the overall idea of it, and it's like, see it like this. It's like, for example, you can look at someone like Caesar's journey, where it's like you can see it kind of like similar to a hero, where it's like he leads his own people out of like the captivity of the humans to create his own nation. Then he ends up dying being a hero, and it's like, that in itself is what kind of makes a story kind of stick out at the end of the day. Just basically 100%. Having a theme and then setting it. And it doesn't need to even be like under a specific genre. So
100%, I agree with you. I think it's I think even with superhero movies, there's a beautiful Batman quote. It's like, you ever die a hero or live long enough to see yourself become the villain.
Yeah.
I think superhero movies are seeing themselves become the villain because they're not dying heroes. They're not understanding what it means to actually take that idea of a movie and take it properly. But another thing I wanted to talk about before we wrap up was the idea of entrepreneurship. And like, because I know not only, and I think I'm fascinated by this idea, that nowadays creatives aren't just creatives. They are creatives, but they're also entrepreneurs because they understand the mechanics of how to get their work out there to people. You know, they understand, okay, I can create the work. You were saying, you know, have an idea, you know, drawing, but also understanding, okay, how do I get it out to people? Because we are now using social media as levers to get our work to people and you know, and push that. And I know you talk about you're on TikTok. I know you're on Instagram. I recently also jumped on Instagram too because I've been convinced by a friend of mine who's also on Instagram, and she was like, yo, like, you got to get on because that's where the people are. Like, the people you're trying to reach, there's this idea, because I originally had this idea that, you know, they were you know, not the kind of people I wanted to get my work to, but like there's no such thing. They're just people, and you can target it to certain individuals if the work is what you want it to be. So I say that to say, I know that you've been trying to branch out into different avenues. And one of the avenues you've been branching out into is I guess your clothing brand. Do you want to talk more about that? Like just also the idea of entrepreneurship, but the idea that where you start seeing that you can do more than just make the work, you can actually take it further. And if that's connected to this idea, the clothing brand you're trying to build also.
Okay. Well,